All right, so let's just say that I know a guy, all right? And the thing about this guy is that he did everything they said, okay? He woke up at like 5 a.m., right? He took that adrenaline rushing, freezing cold shower, and he meditated and he journaled, and he made sure that every second of the day was being put to good use. And he was doing that because he wanted to create that life that people would talk about online. But at or by the end of every day, at some point, he would just stop for a second and realize how exhausted he was. Sometimes he felt like a failure. He lived in a world that rewards workaholism, and that devotion that he had to squeezing all the productivity he could out of every second of every minute of every hour of every day would drain him. It would drain him. It would eat away at his mental health and his relationships. They were a train wreck. And where does this story go? Well, to some degree, I think a lot of us are that guy experiencing what he experienced. And if you feel like you've gotten stuck on this ever spinning self-improvement hamster wheel, this is something you need to hear. It's the promise of perfect. I think we're all familiar with this quiet feeling of dissatisfaction with the way that things are, because you look at your life, you look at it, and there's this gap between where you are and where you want to be that's just way too big. So you go looking for answers online and you hear about this thing called self-improvement. Yay! Self-improvement, it tends to be a very influencer-driven industry with the intoxicating promise of a life full of non-stop work and an unrealistic standard. You get this impression that you need to adopt these habits and create this bulletproof mindset, and then you'll have this life too. So you immerse yourself and you start reading all these books with the expectation that you can use what you learn from them to become your best self. Then your mornings, they turn into this unflinching ritual that's hardwired to make you faster at everything, smarter at everything, and more productive at everything. And you keep track of your habits like your life depends on it. And you think that if you could just perfect it all, then that perfect life that you want is perfectly guaranteed. Perfectly. As they say, self-improvement isn't a crime. It's a good thing to work on yourself, isn't it? I mean, everyone has their own potential. Why not reach or even exceed that potential? So you really believe that you're building a better you piece by piece. But here's the problem. That mindset of getting there, being enough, is based on the mindset of not being enough. And by allowing the mission to get better, to become your personality, you are physically training yourself to think, if I could just hit this many sales, or if I could just do this many reps. It's coming from a scarcity mindset of not being enough. And you become this self-project, but with an unending finish line. Here's what really happens when you do that. The next time you hit a goal, just about instantly, that satisfaction will find its way to zero. And instead of feeling proud, just about instantly, your brain swings on to the next challenge, just about instantly. It's like you're after this horizon that you can't actually reach. This, folks, is the dark side of self-improvement. It's a finish line that moves forever, and you can get trapped in a thought loop where you're just never satisfied with your life as a result. The self-help industry at its worst will depend on this experience. It sells you on the idea that everything in your life can and should, as a result, be improved. But doesn't that just create this paradox where the harder you try, the more you're reinforcing the belief that who you are this very moment is foundationally flawed? You are chasing an ideal that cannot be caught, and you don't realize that you're running in place, feeling what seems to be perpetually insufficient. You focus so much on what you aren't yet that you don't see any more of what makes you great in the first place. It's a massive self-destructive blind spot that even a trained self-improvement junkie might find junkie might not be the best choice of words, might find him or themselves oscillating in and out of all the time. Your life turns into this forever dynamic to-do list, and you feel like taking a tiny break is the 8th deadly sin. You begin to feel stressed, lazy, guilty for any moments of downtime. It's a classic textbook sign of toxic productivity. This unhealthy devotion to doing something all the time. And it's usually at the expense of the well-being of yourself and even those who rely on you. So you start thinking what you're worth is automatically just tied to your production, but your worth isn't waiting for you at the end. It's just constantly demanding more, which can lead to burnout and the quality of your work. Let's not kid ourselves, that can go down too. Self-improvement at an extreme is essentially self-rejection wearing a mask. What are we told? Be the best version of yourself. Reach your true potential. And yet there is a you in the mirror right now in front of your face. And it's just not enough. I don't get it, man. And as soon as that idea starts to take place in the mind, growing as a person goes from living a healthier and happier life to merely feeling like a punishment. So you're literally at war with, if it's not yourself, it's got to be parts of yourself that you don't like, or something along those lines. That's who you have to fight against, and you become a brutal judge of your own life. Isn't that exhausting? Toxic productivity is something that can just lead to self-neglect. Certain things like food and sleep and a social life or love life can just fall to the wayside, just so you can perform or produce what it is that you do. Ultimately, in its worst forms, it can spiral you into some serious depression, anxiety, and mental breakdowns. You get obsessed with fixing yourself to the point that you don't even remember what it's like to have a life, just a regular human life, because you care so much about the future of it that you forget all about right now. It's a tricky little cycle. And it makes you feel worse because you're constantly comparing yourself to what you think you should be. So the turning point here is what many of us think is a breaking point. It's not actually just some massive explosion. It's more of a quiet feeling where you look at your perfectly organized desk and all those little check marks and you just feel nothing. You're faster, more productive, and more disciplined than ever in your life, and yet you feel more isolated and alone and anxious and unhappy than ever. This is when you come to a conclusion that your journey of self-improvement turned into a manifesto of self-sabotage. You just lose yourself in that process, and the thoughtless devotion becomes a trap because you're sold a dream and you experience a nightmare as a result. And in that nightmare, there's this constant feeling that you're wearing yourself down and you can't take it anymore. And that's when it clicks. It's that the problem isn't you. It's really just the beliefs you adopted. How familiar does all of this sound? Have you ever felt trapped on that treadmill of your own making, like chasing this version of yourself that feels out of reach forever? If this story hits home, please let me know in the comments. I'm really curious to hear what you folks have to say about it, because I know that I cannot be the only one who's gone through some version of this. What it means to grow can change when we start to have these conversations. The real solution is to go from rejecting yourself to accepting yourself. The biggest change in this guy's life, it didn't come from a hack or some kind of 30-day challenge, okay? It came from the simplistic idea of self-acceptance. Many people look at self-acceptance for years and they just think it means giving up. That's not what it is. The reality of it is that sustained growth needs a foundation. Otherwise, it remains weak or untethered. This means changing the reason that you're trying, not the fact that you're trying. You don't have to stop trying. You should be proud of yourself for trying. But instead of fixing yourself as if you're broken, you have to do some self-work out of sincere self-care. It's where everything comes from. When self-improvement comes from a place of, I'm already there, just in your head, and not, I have to earn this, it feels so much better. And ultimately, it's more sustainable. You see your flaws and you don't hate them. It's healthier this way. They just make you curious, like, why is this? Why do I react like this when people say those things? Can anything be done about it? Learn about yourself. Heck, you may be able to appreciate those things in the process and not even see them as flaws anymore, according to your own judgment, due to a change in perspective. But you need to allow yourself to be a human and messy and imperfect. It's not crazy to me that people do this, because people are people. But it is crazy to me how common it is. Self-improvement is not a religion, okay? It's a tool for learning new things and building better habits and understanding you. But when it runs on this notion that fundamentally and foundationally speaking, you're just not enough, it'll turn itself upside down and the toxicity level will go all the way up. The goal is not to become an optimized robot or something like that. It's just self-acceptance. self-actualization. And self-acceptance turns out to be a prerequisite for that. So you can chase this version of yourself, in conclusion, for years, under the impression that being happy is something that you need to earn with a bunch of rigorous effort. But what you'll likely eventually find is that the chase is what's keeping you from ever reaching it. The true secret to it is giving yourself the permission and the room that you need to create that authentic success or fulfillment or whatever it is that you were dreaming of this whole time. I really hope that this video helped someone out there. If it did, please make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. But if you have subscribed and you want to turn it up just a notch and turn on that notification bell to get a notification whenever I drop new videos, that would mean the world to me. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere, and I'll see you then.